Hey, good morning. My name is Daniel M. Reeses, and today is Friday the 15th. Right, Jamie?
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to remind everyone that today is a regular day of the week, so why wouldn't I be arrested for a crime I didn't commit? And that's the real question. Today's a regular day, and I want to remind everyone at home that if you are in law enforcement or in prosecution or anything to do with the government, and you use even one iota of your position to false arrest a human being, let alone a human being who has done more for the country than any human being in the entire country.
True.
Furthermore, I want to remind everyone that because of me, the entire argument of defund police was wiped out in one single incident. That's all it took for me. That's it. So if I want to re-bring defund police and only narrow it down to the Livingston Police Department, I will do this. And I'll explain to you why. Because if the Livingston Police Department even thinks for a fucking second that they can arrest me without actual probable cause, without me ever committing a crime, and to instill a false sense of fear inside of me to silence me, well, they have a big surprise coming. Because all I want is to be arrested for a crime I didn't commit on YouTube, so I can show everyone just exactly what exactly law enforcement does in order to silence human beings who stand up against their rights. Now, one thing I want to remind everyone is that the opioid epidemic in this country isn't just the opioid epidemic. It is far more worse and sinister. The worst human beings in this epidemic are pain management specialists that have shifted the entire process of pain management to be not only a business, but to shift it and suggest that opioids are not the solution, but fentanyl is. And Project Ghost has selected one very special little doctor at the St. Barnabas Ambulatory Care Center that is responsible for not dozens, but hundreds of deaths through improper pain management. Now, please understand that I don't make accusations without actual evidence, but when a human being is turned to by someone like me and they turn around and make up an entire story about that person, then I showed that person the next day. I was extremely upset. All right, look, you have to understand that these human beings are the equivalent of legal drug dealers. They keep people like myself hooked on opioids and these types of substances through a psychological method of dependency through the business model. For example, I will have colon cancer for the rest of my life, meaning that I'm in remission. So the concept of every single month getting a new prescription is only so that the industry can make more money, control you, and get you hooked on something that you don't need. At no point did I take any opioid derivatives or anything that all the fentanyl that everyone tried to push on me, like this doctor who suggested some very illegal things. And I can prove this to everyone. And the second that I am arrested, I promise you, this video will go live, at which point I will then go through the legal process like I always do, maybe sit in jail for another 7 days for a crime I didn't commit. But I assure you, what I am about to do will save at least one human being from ever being under the care of an actual murderer. I know you don't know this because you don't know the records of what this man has actually done. Please understand that I don't select people by random. These are very highly long-term researched and selected individuals who have a repeated history of killing human beings. This doctor has actually been responsible for getting children hooked on narcotics. I promise you, from the irresponsible pain management of adults who do not keep their prescriptions out of sight. There are things this doctor has no idea about. And he will find out about this on YouTube. And so will Ross Cooperman. Because Dr. Ross Cooperman is a human being that I've known for a very long time. And Dr. Cooperman is very much instrumental in isolating my children from me. Why, you say? Because as a medical professional, when you find out any wind of any type of medically related criminal activity that you personally know of, if you're not part of an effort to correct that systemic issue, then you do not deserve to administer care. Think about it. If you're a doctor who is okay with children being kidnapped, how can you ever, Ross, actually have a steady hand or do anything, because you and your mansions and your millions of dollars are 100% responsible for the negligence of ignoring the fact that me, your friend, Dan Rhesus, and I will remind you, Ross, that you introduced me to that pain management doctor on the second landing. And maybe you think I don't know this, I don't know what the fuck is going on, but when I show myself and my true colors, and my biggest mistake is needing assistance. You see, this man only did what he did because he thought that I was in a state of weakness. And he's right. He was right. He was right. I was 100% dependent on the substance once a day. That is not a false statement. But the reason for my dependency was not because of some sort of an invented illness. I literally had colon cancer, and I literally managed the pain management myself by only taking one of the 3 prescribed pills. You guys don't understand how difficult that is to do for 9 years. Jamie, do you understand how difficult it is?
Yes, it's unbelievable that you were...
One of the only reasons that I was able to handle the amount of pain of second-degree burns all over my body is 100% attributed to the fact that every single morning, not to be gross, but after I go to the bathroom, my organs shift back into place. So if you don't understand what pain is, please understand, just imagine your internal organs rapidly shifting into their position because of the space I don't have anymore that a regular person does, so that it doesn't even matter.
It's really painful.
It's okay, Jamie.
It's really painful.
Jamie's really nice.
Well, as someone who had 3 children via C-section, whose organs were taken out and put on a table next to her and then put back in, I get your pain and your...
Wait, and Jared Resnick knows about all this, and he just...
It's on tape. I got it on tape.
Anyways, look, I'm just saying to you, the most entertaining part of this entire thing would be if I'm actually arrested for standing up for my rights against as a patient against a doctor who is actively committing criminal acts in front of me, in front of everyone, without an issue whatsoever.
So awesome. People
are dying, and I'm being arrested because I showed my badge so that I can actually communicate with this doctor, because I can't even begin to describe it, because what I don't want to do is invent stories that are not true. So obviously I'm not arrested, but if I do find myself in handcuffs, I will ask Ms. Resnick to be recording it as much as possible, and I'll be wearing my headphones. But essentially, human beings need to understand that the concept of someone like me pretending to be in law enforcement is not only laughable, you have to ask yourself, why on earth did he even show the badge? And the truth is, Jamie was a victim of an actual assault last week. The state police supported the assaulter, and it was a sex crime. And I'm not saying Jamie was raped or anything like that, but I definitely think that anybody else would have been arrested had they done this to another person, not 100%. Jamie Resnick.
Yeah.
And the context of what happened, I'd rather just show you on camera instead of inventing stories, because obviously you don't believe anything I say. So once you see the body camera footage that I'm going to get, you're going to see the actual interactions.
Yeah.
You're going to actually see the communications. You're going to actually see the truth. Look, there's a reason why I'm not beatable in court. It's because I don't commit crimes that I'm arrested for. It's not because I'm some amazing lawyer or anything like that. That shit's pretty cool. But the reality is, human beings who don't commit crimes, like for example, I'm giving myself a second chance at life. I believe that a lot of the decisions that are discretionary that I made under the guise of being in so much pain and being alone and having to advocate for myself, I'm looking at the last 9 years as nothing more than a separation from the real Dan to the person that really was in a lot of pain. And I'm still in a lot of pain, but the control element is gone. I'm no longer controlled by anybody in our society, meaning that I don't think anyone understands how difficult it is to be dependent on pain management pills while being accused of being a drug addict and doing something wrong. The only thing I did wrong was have colon cancer. I don't think anyone understands that. I don't think anyone understands that I used to be a very serious individual in an illicit business, so I don't have the whereabouts to just ignore the realities of substance abuse. I also was the managing director of the largest chain of pawn shops in the New Jersey state history. So my interaction with people that are addicts far exceeds anything from law enforcement or even people in the industry of dealing with addicts. I did over 1 million transactions. How many of those do you think were addicts at a pawn shop in northern New Jersey? Look, the point of all of this is that humans cannot be afraid of our society because people in law enforcement, government, or judges have the power to put them in handcuffs. My name is Daniel M. Reeses, and I assure you, until I commit a crime, I have absolutely nothing to worry about. And if you're watching this at home and you're afraid of the law, that's because you either watch too many movies or you elected the wrong officials. Peace. How does this never work, Jake?